Nobody is coming to save you. No mentor. No miracle. No perfect moment. No excuses. No shortcuts. Just action. If your life feels stuck, it's not because you don't know enough. It's because you keep negotiating with comfort. This audiobook is not here to motivate you. It is here to remove your escape routes. Every excuse you repeat is a decision to stay the same. Every action you delay is a future you cancel. By the end of this, you will either change how you move, or you will finally admit that excuses run your life. Listen carefully. This is where excuses end. Chapter 1. Nobody is coming. Nobody is coming. Let that settle. First, no one is on the way to rescue you. No one is preparing a perfect opportunity. No one is waiting to hand you permission. And the moment you fully accept that, everything changes. Most people spend their entire lives waiting. Waiting for confidence. Waiting for clarity. Waiting for support. Waiting for motivation. Waiting feels safe. Waiting keeps you weak. You tell yourself you're being responsible. You say you're being patient. You say you're preparing. But deep down, you know the truth. You're delaying action because action is uncomfortable. That's the key. Waiting is not neutral. Waiting is a decision. Waiting is choosing comfort over growth. And here is the brutal truth most people never accept. If you don't move, nothing moves. You have a choice. You always have a choice. You can wait and feel temporarily safe. Or you can act and feel temporarily uncomfortable. Only one of those builds a life. Look around. Most people are waiting for someone to believe in them. A boss. A partner. A parent. An audience. They want approval before effort. They want reassurance before risk. You don't need their permission. That idea alone scares people. Because if nobody is coming, then responsibility lands on you. And responsibility is heavy. So the mind creates excuses. Smart excuses. Polite excuses. Logical excuses. I just need more time. I need to learn more first. I'm not ready yet. Those aren't facts. Those are delays. Waiting feels safe. Waiting keeps you weak. Here's what actually happens when you wait. Your standards drop. Your urgency fades. Your self-respect erodes quietly. You stop trusting yourself. Because every promise you break to yourself teaches your brain one thing. You don't follow through. That's not motivation talk. That's psychology. Confidence is not built by thinking. Confidence is built by keeping small promises to yourself. And waiting breaks those promises daily. You have a choice. Most people think successful individuals started ready. They didn't. They started scared. They started broke. They started confused. But they started anyway. That's the difference. Not intelligence. Not talent. Not luck. Movement. Think about it carefully. Nobody ever felt fully ready and then acted. They acted and became ready. That's the order. Waiting reverses the order and kills progress. You don't need clarity to begin. You need movement to create clarity. That's the key. The mind lies to protect comfort. It tells you, once things make sense, then move. But life doesn't work that way. Movement creates feedback. Feedback creates learning. Learning creates confidence. If you don't move, nothing moves. People say they're waiting for motivation. Motivation doesn't arrive first. Action does. Discipline is what moves you when motivation is absent. And discipline doesn't care how you feel. It's not about fear. It's not about doubt. It's about discipline. Waiting feels safe. Waiting keeps you weak. Look at your own life. Be honest. What are you waiting for right now? A better time? More energy? Someone's approval? That waiting is costing you more than you realize. Every delay strengthens the habit of delay. Every excuse reinforces the identity of someone who hesitates. And identity drives behavior. You have a choice. The moment you accept that nobody is coming, you stop looking outward. You stop asking. You stop hoping. And you start deciding. Decision is power. You decide to act tired. You decide to act afraid. You decide to act without applause. That's what adults do. This chapter isn't here to inspire you. It's here to corner you with truth. Waiting is a lie you tell yourself. A polite lie. A socially acceptable lie. But a lie that steals years. You don't need perfect conditions. You need non-negotiable action. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. Say it again. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. You act first. The feeling follows. That's the key. The people who win understand something early. No one is coming. So they show up anyway. They don't ask, what if it fails? They ask, what if I don't try? And that question changes everything. Waiting keeps your life small. Action expands it. Every meaningful change in your life will begin with an uncomfortable move you didn't feel ready for. That's how growth works. You have a choice. You can continue waiting, collecting reasons, explanations, and excuses. Or you can move. Messy, imperfect, uncertain. Only one of those builds self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of discipline. Here's something you need to hear clearly. No one is judging you for starting late. But life will judge you for never starting. Time doesn't pause for hesitation. It moves forward relentlessly. And if you don't decide, time decides for you. Waiting feels safe. Waiting keeps you weak. Action feels uncomfortable. Action makes you dangerous. Dangerous to excuses. Dangerous to old habits. Dangerous to the version of you that quits. If you don't move, nothing moves. This chapter is the line. Before this, you waited. After this, you decide. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels easier. But you don't need permission. You don't need confidence. You don't need approval. You need discipline. Because nobody is coming. And that's not a curse. That's freedom. When no one is coming, you stop waiting. You start building. And once you move, everything else follows. You've accepted the truth now. Waiting is over. But understanding this is not enough. Because excuses don't disappear quietly. They adapt. They disguise themselves. They evolve. And that's what you must confront next. You've accepted that nobody is coming. Now it's time to expose the habits that keep you stuck. Chapter 2. Excuses are invisible addictions. Excuses don't shout. They whisper. They don't kick the door down and stop you. They sit beside you. They sound reasonable. They sound responsible. They sound like you. That's why they're dangerous. Most people think addiction looks dramatic. Sweat, withdrawal, loss of control. But the most powerful addictions don't look like chaos. They look like logic. I'm tired. I'll start Monday. I just need more research. Those sentences feel harmless. They feel mature. They feel smart. But they are patterns. And patterns shape identity. That's the key. An excuse is not a one-time event. It's a habit of thought. And habits of thought become habits of behavior. You don't fall into excuses. You practice them. You have a choice. Every time you delay action with a reason, your brain gets relief. Not growth. Relief. Psychologically, that relief matters. Because relief is rewarding. When you avoid discomfort, your nervous system calms down. And your brain says, good choice. That's how addiction forms. Not to substances, but to avoidance. Excuses don't shout. They whisper. They say, not today. Be realistic. Wait until you feel better. And every time you listen, you strengthen the circuit. Neuroscience calls it reinforcement. Behavior calls it habit. Life calls it being stuck. You don't need their permission. Not from others. Not from your own fear. But most people ask anyway. They ask their mood. They ask their energy level. They ask their confidence. And those things always say the same thing. Stay comfortable. That's not intuition. That's weakness dressed up as wisdom. It's not about fear. It's not about doubt. It's about discipline. Say it again. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. Excuses are invisible because they hide behind logic. They say, rest is important. They say, timing matters. They say, quality over speed. And those things are true for disciplined people. But for undisciplined people, they are traps. That's the difference. A disciplined person uses rest to recover. An undisciplined person uses rest to avoid. A disciplined person waits strategically. An undisciplined person waits emotionally. Same words, different intent. That's the key. Look at your most common excuse. The one you repeat the most. I'm tired. Let's talk about that. You're tired because you're inactive. You're tired because you don't challenge yourself. You're tired because your days have no momentum. Action creates energy. Inaction drains it. Waiting makes you more tired, not less. I'll start Monday. Monday is not a plan. It's a delay with a name. Monday gives your brain relief today, at the cost of discipline tomorrow. I need more research. Research is useful, but endless research is fear. You're not confused. You're avoiding responsibility. You already know the next step. You just don't want to take it. You have a choice. The most dangerous excuses are the ones that sound responsible. They protect your self-image while destroying your progress. You get to feel smart without doing anything. That's addiction. And like all addictions, it gets worse with time. What started as, I'll do it later, turns into, this just isn't for me. Not because you tried and failed, but because you never committed. Excuses don't shout. They whisper. They say, you deserve a break. You've been through a lot. Be kind to yourself. Kindness without discipline becomes self-betrayal. Real self-respect is doing the hard thing. Even when you don't feel like it, you have a choice. Here's the psychological trap. The brain prefers short-term comfort over long-term reward. Boys, discipline is the skill of overriding that preference. Not once. Daily. You don't eliminate excuses by arguing with them. You eliminate them by acting before they finish the sentence. That's the key. The moment you start negotiating, you've already lost. Negotiation sounds like this. Just today. Just 5 more minutes. Just this once. That language weakens you. Strong people don't debate with excuses. They move on autopilot. They decide in advance and execute without discussion. It's not about motivation. It's about systems. You don't wake up and ask, do I feel like brushing my teeth? You just do it. That's discipline. And discipline can be trained. Start here. When you hear an excuse, don't analyze it. Label it. Say, that's an excuse. Out loud if you have to. Naming breaks the spell. Then act immediately, even if the action is small. Especially if it's small. Small action trains obedience. Not to comfort, but to commitment. You don't need to feel ready. You need to move. Excuses don't shout. They whisper. And silence is how they win. So you must replace silence with action. Stop explaining yourself. Stop justifying delays. Stop negotiating with weakness. Start doing first. Thinking later. That's the order. You have a choice. Most people think discipline is harsh. It's not. It's freeing. Because once discipline is in place, you don't have to fight yourself all day. The fight ends. And here's the truth that cuts deep. Excuses feel good in the moment, but they cost you self-trust. And once self-trust is gone, everything becomes harder. You hesitate more. You doubt more. You quit sooner. That's not a personality flaw. That's a discipline problem. It's not about intelligence. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. That's the key. Excuses are invisible addictions. And the only cure is consistent action. In moments you'd rather avoid. Not dramatic action. Boring action. Uncelebrated action. That's where power is built. Every time you act despite an excuse, you weaken the addiction. Every time you give in, you strengthen it. You are training something every day. Either discipline or delay. There is no neutral. You have a choice. This chapter wasn't meant to comfort you. It was meant to expose what's been controlling you quietly. Now you see it. You can't unsee it. But awareness alone is not enough. Because excuses don't disappear just because they're exposed. They retreat. They evolve. And the next form they take is comfort. You've identified the addiction. Now you must confront its supplier. You've learned how excuses operate. Now it's time to understand what keeps feeding them. You've broken the illusion. Now it's time to break the habit. Chapter 3. Comfort is the enemy. Comfort doesn't attack you. It invites you in. It offers relief, ease, silence, and slowly, it takes your ambition away. Comfort today becomes pain tomorrow. That's not a slogan. That's a pattern. Most people don't fail loudly. They fade quietly. They don't quit their goals in one dramatic moment. They postpone them, day by day, choice by choice. Comfort creates delay. Delay creates regret. That's the formula. You have a choice. Comfort feels like rest, but it's not the same thing. Rest restores energy. Comfort avoids effort. Rest prepares you to act again. Comfort trains you to stop acting at all. That's the key. Psychologically, comfort tells your brain there is no threat, no urgency, no reason to push. And the human brain, when it senses safety, reduces effort. Not because you're lazy, because you're human. But discipline exists to override biology. It's not about laziness. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. Comfort slowly kills ambition because ambition requires tension, pressure, challenge. Without those, desire weakens. Think about it. When was the last time comfort pushed you to grow? Never. Comfort doesn't demand more from you. It asks less. Less effort, less risk, less discomfort. And every time you accept that offer, your standards drop. Not instantly, gradually. You stop pushing your limits. You stop questioning your habits. You stop expecting more from yourself. That's how comfort wins. Comfort today becomes pain tomorrow. People don't feel the damage immediately. That's why comfort is dangerous. The pain comes later, years later, when opportunities are gone, when health is gone, when time is gone. Then comfort sends the bill. You have a choice. Look at people who are free, truly free, financially, physically, mentally. They didn't choose comfort early. They chose discomfort. They woke up earlier than they wanted. They worked when others rested. They trained when others relaxed. Not because they were special, because they understood the trade. Discomfort now. Freedom later. Comfort now. Regret later. That's the key. Most people want freedom without discipline. Results without resistance. Growth without pain. That's not how life works. Comfort whispers, "You've done enough today. You deserve this." Skip it just once. And once becomes often. Often becomes always. That's how ambition dies. Comfort doesn't shout. It soothes. It wraps itself in rewards. Screens, food, entertainment. None of those are evil. But unchecked, they become cages. A comfortable cage is still a cage. You don't need their permission. Not from society. Not from culture. Not from your own habits. But comfort will ask you to wait. To relax. To delay. Waiting feels safe. Waiting keeps you weak. Comfort today becomes pain tomorrow. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You can always tell the future direction of someone's life by what they choose when they don't feel like choosing. Do they choose the easy option or the necessary one? That choice repeats. And repetition builds identity. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. It's about discipline. Say it again. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. Comfort trains you to avoid effort. Discipline trains you to tolerate discomfort. And tolerance is power. Strong people are not fearless. They are familiar with discomfort. They don't panic when things feel hard. They don't retreat when things feel boring. They don't quit when progress feels slow. Because they've trained themselves not to obey comfort. That's the key. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop asking, "How can I make this easier?" Start asking, "What does this require?" Those are very different questions. Easy choices feel good today. Required choices build tomorrow. Here's what you must start doing. Choose one small discomfort every day. On purpose. Wake up earlier. Train when you don't want to. Speak up when it's uncomfortable. Work when you'd rather scroll. Not dramatically. Consistently. Small discomforts build tolerance. Tolerance builds discipline. Discipline builds freedom. You have a choice. Comfort convinces you that you'll make it up later. Later rarely comes. Energy declines. Responsibilities increase. Time compresses. And suddenly, the window is gone. Comfort today becomes pain tomorrow. Most people wait until pain forces change. Smart people choose discomfort early. One leads to desperation. The other leads to control. That's the difference. Look at the body. Comfort avoids movement. Discipline trains it. Years later, comfort leads to stiffness, illness, weakness. Discipline leads to strength, mobility, confidence. Same principle. Different outcomes. Look at money. Comfort spends. Discipline saves and builds. Years later, comfort creates stress. Discipline creates options. Look at mindset. Comfort avoids challenge. Discipline seeks growth. Years later, comfort creates regret. Discipline creates pride. This is not motivation. This is cause and effect. You have a choice. Comfort is seductive because it feels like self-care. But self-care without discipline becomes self-destruction. Real self-care is keeping promises to yourself. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. That's the key. You don't need to eliminate comfort completely. You need to earn it. Rest after effort. Relax after discipline. Never before. That order matters. Most people reverse it. They rest first. Then they never begin. Discipline reverses the pattern. At first. Comfort later. And over time, comfort loses its control over you. You stop needing permission from your feelings. You stop asking your mood what to do. You start acting from standards. Standards are stronger than feelings. It's not about how you feel today. It's about who you are becoming. Comfort doesn't care about your future self. Discipline does. Comfort today becomes pain tomorrow. Let that stay with you. Every comfortable choice has a cost. You just don't pay it immediately, but you will pay it. The question is not whether discomfort is coming. It's when. You can choose discomfort now, controlled and purposeful, or you can face it later, unplanned and overwhelming. You have a choice. This chapter is not asking you to suffer. It's asking you to stop numbing yourself. Stop choosing ease over growth. Stop trading long-term freedom for short-term relief. Start choosing what builds you, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because that's where ambition survives. You've learned that excuses whisper. Now you understand what gives them power, comfort, and comfort will keep feeding them until you cut the supply. You've identified the enemy. Now you must learn how to act without waiting for motivation, because motivation is unreliable. Comfort knows that. Discipline doesn't care. You've confronted comfort. Now it's time to dismantle the next lie. You've seen how comfort delays action. Now you must understand why waiting for motivation keeps you trapped. You've chosen discomfort. Now it's time to move without emotion. Chapter 4. Motivation is a trap. Motivation is not your ally. It never was. Motivation is emotional, unstable, temporary. And if you wait for it, you will wait forever. You don't need motivation. You need movement. That's the key. Most people think motivation comes first. They think they need to feel ready before they act. They think clarity creates action. That belief is the trap. Motivation does not create action. Action creates motivation. Say it again. Action creates motivation. Waiting to feel ready is how goals die quietly. You have a choice. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change with sleep, food, stress, weather, and mood. If your progress depends on feelings, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline is different. Discipline is mechanical, repeatable, unemotional. Discipline does not ask how you feel. It asks what needs to be done. That's the difference. It's not about excitement. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. Motivation says, let's go when it feels right. Discipline says, we go now. One builds momentum. The other builds excuses. You don't need their permission. Not from your emotions. Not from your past. Not from your fear. But most people wait anyway. They wake up and scan their body. Do I feel motivated today? If the answer is no, they delay. And delay becomes a lifestyle. You don't need motivation. You need movement. Psychologically, the brain is wired for efficiency. It avoids effort unless forced. Motivation gives you a temporary push. But once that feeling fades, the brain returns to avoidance. Discipline overrides avoidance. Not by force, by structure. When action is scheduled, emotion becomes irrelevant. That's the key. Look at any area where you're inconsistent. Fitness. Learning. Ask yourself one question. Am I waiting to feel motivated? If the answer is yes, that's the problem. Motivation is a reward, not a requirement. You earn motivation by acting. Think about momentum. Once you start moving, continuing becomes easier. The hardest part is starting. And motivation doesn't help with starting. Movement does. You don't wake up motivated to brush your teeth. You don't feel inspired to tie your shoes. You do it because it's who you are. Because it's non-negotiable. That's discipline. You have a choice. Most people confuse motivation with commitment. They are not the same. Motivation is emotional excitement. Commitment is a decision. Commitment stays when motivation leaves. And motivation always leaves. That's not pessimism. That's reality. If you only act when you feel good, you are controlled by circumstance. Strong people are not emotionally driven. They are principle-driven. They decide once and execute daily. That's the key. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop consuming motivation as entertainment. Videos, posts, speeches. They give you a temporary high, then drop you back into the same habits. Motivation without action is sedation. It makes you feel productive without producing anything. Here's what you must start doing. At first, think later. Not recklessly, relentlessly. Set a minimum standard. So small it removes excuses. 5 minutes. 1 page. 1 set. 1 task. Movement breaks inertia. And once inertia breaks, motivation follows. You don't need motivation. You need movement. That's the key. Notice how motivation is always about the future. I'll feel ready later. I'll start when I'm inspired. Discipline is about now. Now is the only time you can act. The future never arrives. It keeps moving. Waiting for motivation is waiting for a feeling that has no reason to show up. Why would motivation appear? When you've trained your brain to delay, the brain responds to action, not intention. You have a choice. If you want to feel motivated, act when you don't feel like it. That sounds backward, but it works. Because action creates evidence. Evidence creates belief. Belief creates motivation. That's the order. Reverse it and nothing happens. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. Confidence is built by keeping promises to yourself. Discipline is how you keep them. Motivation fades. Discipline remains. People say, I lost motivation. You lost structure. You stopped acting consistently. And motivation left because it had nothing to attach to. Motivation feeds on progress. No progress. No motivation. That's the key. Here's a practical rule. Never decide based on how you feel. Decide based on who you're becoming. Ask yourself, what would a disciplined version of me do right now? Then do that. Not perfectly. Not energetically. Just do it. You don't need their permission. Not from your mood. Not from your past failures. Failure doesn't disqualify you. Waiting does. You have a choice. Motivation loves comfort. Discipline tolerates discomfort. Motivation wants the path to feel good. Discipline accepts that growth feels hard. That's why motivation is unreliable. It disappears at the first sign of resistance. Discipline expects resistance and prepares for it. That's the difference between people who start and people who finish. Most people start motivated. Few finish disciplined. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. You don't build a life on sparks. You build it on systems. Wake up. Do the work. Repeat. Even when it's boring. Especially when it's boring. That's where results come from. You don't need motivation. You need movement. Say it again. You don't need motivation. You need movement. Movement creates clarity. Movement creates confidence. Movement creates motivation. Waiting creates doubt. Waiting creates fear. Waiting creates regret. You have a choice. This chapter is not telling you to ignore your feelings. It's telling you to stop obeying them. Feelings are information, not instructions. Discipline decides. Feelings follow. Once you understand this, you stop asking, how do I feel? And start asking, what needs to be done? That question changes everything. You stop chasing motivation. You start building consistency. And consistency wins. Every time. You've been told your whole life to get motivated. That advice has kept you stuck. Now you know better. Motivation is a trap. Discipline is the exit. You've learned to stop waiting to feel ready. You've learned to move first, but movement alone isn't enough, because even disciplined action can fail without one critical ingredient: consistency. Showing up once doesn't change your life. Showing up daily does. You've escaped the motivation trap. Now it's time to understand what truly separates those who succeed from those who fade. You've learned to move without emotion. Now you must learn to outwork your limitations. You've stopped waiting. Now it's time to build something unstoppable. Chapter 5. Discipline beats talent. Talent is overrated. Not because talent doesn't exist, but because talent without discipline is useless. Talent opens doors. Discipline keeps them open. That's the key. Most people believe success is about being gifted, smarter, stronger, more creative. That belief feels comforting because it gives you an excuse. If I were more talented, I'd succeed. But the truth is harsher and more freeing. Talent without discipline is wasted potential. You have a choice. Look closely at the people who never reach what they could have been. They're not always untalented. Often, they're the most talented in the room. They just stop when it gets boring. That's the pattern. In the beginning, talent feels exciting. Progress is fast. Praise comes easily. Then the curve flattens. Results slow down. The work becomes repetitive. That's when talent quits. Discipline shows up when excitement disappears. Say it again. Discipline shows up when excitement disappears. Talent wants stimulation. Discipline accepts repetition. Talent loves applause. Discipline works in silence. That's the difference. It's not about intelligence. It's not about creativity. It's about discipline. Most people don't fail because they can't do the work. They fail because they won't do the boring work. And all meaningful work becomes boring eventually. That's the key. Look at fitness. The first few weeks feel great. Visible progress. Compliments. Momentum. Then the novelty fades. Workouts feel repetitive. Results slow. That's where discipline matters. The person with average genetics who trains consistently beats the gifted athlete who trains emotionally. Every time. Same with business. Ideas are easy. Execution is dull. Emails. Follow-ups. Processes. The talented visionary quits. The disciplined operator builds. Same with skills. Music. Writing. Coding. Talent makes learning fast early. Discipline makes mastery inevitable. You have a choice. Talent depends on mood. Discipline depends on standards. Talent asks, do I feel like it? Discipline asks, what's required? That question changes everything. Most people protect their talent by avoiding failure. They don't want to look bad. They don't want to struggle. So they stop. Discipline doesn't protect ego. It builds results. That's the key. Psychologically, talent can be dangerous. Because early success trains you to expect easy progress. When difficulty arrives, you interpret it as a sign to stop. But difficulty is not a signal to quit. It's a signal that the real work has begun. Discipline understands that. Talent gets offended. Discipline gets to work. You don't need their permission. Not from your past success. Not from your reputation. You don't need to live up to potential. You need to live up to standards. Potential is abstract. Standards are actionable. That's the key. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop relying on natural ability to carry you. Stop quitting when it's no longer fun. Stop confusing ease with alignment. Hard doesn't mean wrong. Boring doesn't mean useless. Here's what you must start doing. Commit to showing up even when there's no reward. Especially then. Because that's where discipline grows. Discipline shows up when excitement disappears. Say it again. Discipline shows up when excitement disappears. Here's how discipline replaces talent. Talent gives you a head start. Discipline gives you longevity. Talent gives you flashes. Discipline gives you consistency. And consistency compounds. Small effort repeated daily beats intense effort done occasionally. That's not motivation. That's math. You have a choice. Most people want to feel special. They want recognition for being gifted. Disciplined people want results. They don't care how it looks. They care that it works. That mindset wins. It's not about confidence. It's not about passion. It's about discipline. Confidence grows after competence. Competence grows after repetition. Repetition is boring. That's why discipline matters. Talent gets bored. Discipline doesn't need excitement. It needs commitment. Look at the people you admire. The ones who last. They didn't rely on talent forever. They built routines, systems, habits. Talent started them. Discipline finished them. That's the key. Here's a practical shift. Stop asking, "Am I good at this?" Start asking, "Can I commit to this long enough to get good?" That question removes ego from the equation. Because discipline doesn't care how talented you are. It cares how consistent you are. You don't need their permission. Not from your inner critic. Not from your past failures. Failure doesn't erase talent. Quitting does. Discipline keeps you in the game long enough to win. Talent burns bright, then fades. Discipline burns slow and lasts. You have a choice. If you feel frustrated that others are passing you, look at consistency, not talent. Who shows up more? Who finishes what they start? Who keeps going when it's dull? That's the answer. Talent is loud at the beginning. Discipline is quiet in the middle. And unstoppable at the end. Most people never make it to the end. Because they confuse boredom with failure. Boredom is part of mastery. That's the key. Discipline is not punishment. It's alignment. It aligns your actions with your goals. Daily. Relentlessly. Even when you don't feel inspired. Especially then. Discipline shows up when excitement disappears. This chapter isn't asking you to deny your talent. It's asking you to stop depending on it. Talent is a bonus. Discipline is the foundation. Without discipline, talent decays. With discipline, even average ability becomes extraordinary. That's not opinion. That's observable reality. You have a choice. You can protect your ego by quitting early. Or you can build your future by staying consistent. One feels better now. One pays off later. Choose later. Because later is where freedom lives. You've learned that motivation fades. You've learned that comfort delays. Now you understand why talent alone isn't enough. But discipline doesn't exist in isolation. Even disciplined people fail. If their surroundings work against them. Your habits don't live in your head alone. They live in your environment. You've built discipline. Now it's time to protect it. You've learned to outlast excitement. Now you must control what influences your behavior daily. You've seen why discipline beats talent. Now it's time to understand what shapes discipline itself. Chapter 6. Your environment is lying to you. Your environment is lying to you. First, it tells you that you're fine, that this is normal, that tomorrow will be easier. And every day you believe it, you stay the same. Your environment votes on your future every day. That's not a metaphor. That's reality. You have a choice. Most people think habits are a matter of willpower. They think success is about wanting something badly enough. They think discipline lives in the mind. It doesn't. Discipline lives in your surroundings. Your habits are shaped by what's around you, not by who you want to be. That's the key. If your environment makes bad behavior easy, you will repeat it. If your environment makes good behavior hard, You will avoid it. Not because you're weak, because you're human. The brain is a pattern machine. It follows cues, not intentions. So when people say, "I know what I should do, I just don't do it," that's not confusion. That's environment. You don't need their permission. Not from people. Not from places. Not from routines that no longer serve you. But most people stay loyal to environments that quietly sabotage them. Your environment votes on your future every day. Look around your life. Your phone. Your room. Your schedule. Your circle. Each one is casting votes. And the votes add up. You have a choice. Psychologically, the environment reduces friction. It removes the need to decide. That's why it's powerful. If junk food is visible, you eat it. If your phone is nearby, you scroll it. If distractions are one click away, you choose them. Not because you lack discipline, because discipline is exhausted by constant choice. That's the key. The strongest people don't rely on willpower. They design environments that require less of it. They don't fight temptation all day. They remove it. It's not about motivation. It's not about desire. It's about discipline. And discipline is supported or destroyed by environment. Your environment votes on your future every day. Most people say they want to change, but they keep the same surroundings. Same room, same schedule, same influences. Then they wonder why nothing changes. That's insanity. You cannot expect new behavior from old surroundings. You have a choice. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop blaming yourself for predictable outcomes. If you work where you relax, you won't focus. If you relax where you sleep, you won't rest. Your environment is confusing your brain. Stop keeping distractions within reach. Stop surrounding yourself with people who normalize stagnation. Comfortable environments create comfortable lives. Comfortable lives rarely grow. Here's what you must start doing. Design your environment for discipline. Not inspiration. Not motivation. Discipline. Make good behavior obvious. Make bad behavior inconvenient. That's the rule. Want to train? Put your shoes where you see them first. Want to read? Put the book where your phone used to be. Want to work? Remove entertainment from the workspace. Small changes. Massive impact. Your environment votes on your future every day. Look at successful people closely. They don't argue with temptation. They don't negotiate with distraction. They engineer around it. That's the key. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And systems live in environments. It's not about laziness. It's about exposure. Expose yourself to better inputs, and better outputs follow. Expose yourself to noise, and focus disappears. You have a choice. Your environment is not neutral. It is shaping you. The media you consume, the conversations you hear, the standards you see, all of it trains you. If everyone around you complains, complaining feels normal. If everyone around you avoids effort, effort feels extreme. That's how environments lie. They make weakness look reasonable. Your environment votes on your future every day. Here's a hard truth. If your environment doesn't support growth, it will resist it. People will question you. Places will pull you back. Routines will tempt you. Not because they hate you, because change threatens the familiar. You don't need their permission. Not to rearrange your life. Not to step back. Not to redesign your days. Discipline sometimes looks like distance. Distance from noise. Distance from comfort. Distance from people who don't move. That's not arrogance. That's survival. It's not about being better than others. It's about being better than yesterday. And yesterday's environment may not support that. That's the key. Here's a practical reset. Audit your environment. Ask 3 questions. What around me makes bad behavior easy? What around me makes good behavior hard? What can I change today? Not someday. Today. You don't need to move cities. You don't need a perfect setup. You need intentional design. 1 change today beats 10 plans tomorrow. Your environment votes on your future every day. Stop relying on discipline to fight bad design. That's a losing battle. Even strong people break. In weak environments, discipline thrives when friction is low. Lower the friction for the right actions. Raise the friction for the wrong ones. That's how discipline replaces weakness. It's not about personality. It's not about mindset alone. It's about discipline supported by structure. You have a choice. You can keep hoping you'll change. In the same place, with the same cues, around the same influences. Or you can change the place and let behavior follow. Behavior always follows environment. That's the truth. Your environment is either training you or draining you. There is no middle ground. Your environment votes on your future every day. This chapter is not asking you to try harder. It's asking you to be smarter. Stop fighting yourself. Start shaping your surroundings. Because once the environment changes, discipline becomes natural. Not easy, but easier. And easier is enough. You've learned that talent isn't enough. You've learned that motivation is unreliable. Now you see the silent force that's been steering your behavior, your environment. You've changed the battlefield. Now it's time to change how you show up on it. Because even with the right environment, one habit can still sabotage everything. The habit of explaining, justifying, defending. You've adjusted your surroundings. Now it's time to adjust your mouth. You've stopped fighting temptation. Now it's time to stop explaining yourself. Chapter 7. Stop explaining yourself. Stop explaining yourself. Because every explanation you give is energy spent in the wrong direction. Every justification is time stolen from action. Here's the shocking truth. Explanations are disguised excuses. Results don't need explanations. Let that sit. People who explain a lot usually act very little. People who act a lot rarely explain anything. That's not coincidence. That's psychology. You have a choice. Most explanations are not about clarity. They're about comfort. Comfort from guilt. Comfort from fear. Comfort from judgment. When you explain yourself, you're trying to soften reality. But reality doesn't need to be softened. It needs to be faced. That's the key. The brain explains when it's avoiding responsibility. It creates stories to reduce pressure. I would have done it, but I'm just not ready yet. It's not the right time. These are not reasons. They are escapes. Results don't need explanations. Look closely at your behavior. How often do you explain why you didn't act? You explain to friends. You explain to family. You explain to yourself. And every explanation trains the brain to believe that action is optional. That's dangerous. You don't need their permission. Not to be quiet. Not to stop defending your choices. Not to let your actions speak. Silence is not weakness. Silence is discipline. People who are disciplined don't talk much about what they're going to do. They do it. It's not about confidence. It's not about personality. It's about discipline. That's the key. Explaining yourself creates a false sense of progress. You feel productive without producing anything. You talked about the workout. You talked about the business. You talked about the plan. Your brain gets a dopamine hit. And then you stop. That's why talking can be toxic. Results don't need explanations. Psychologically, explanations serve one purpose. They protect identity. You don't want to feel like a quitter. So you explain. You don't want to feel lazy, so you justify. You don't want to feel afraid, so you rationalize. But discipline doesn't protect feelings. It produces outcomes, and outcomes reshape identity. That's the order. You have a choice. Stop explaining why you haven't started. Start acting without announcing. Stop defending your pace. Start maintaining consistency. Stop narrating your struggle. Start doing the work quietly. Silence removes pressure. Silence removes expectations. Silence removes interference. That's why it's powerful. Results don't need explanations. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop over-communicating your intentions. Stop telling people your plans before they exist. Stop justifying missed commitments. Every explanation weakens the habit of accountability. When you explain, you teach yourself that effort is negotiable. That's the key. Here's what you must start doing. Let your calendar explain for you. Let your consistency speak. Let your output answer questions. If someone asks why you disappeared, you don't owe a speech. You owe yourself results. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval to focus. You don't need validation to improve. You don't need understanding to execute. Most people explain because they're afraid of being misunderstood. But disciplined people accept being misunderstood. They know something important. Results don't need explanations. Think about the strongest performers you know. They don't argue their potential. They don't debate their commitment. They show up. They repeat. They deliver. Silence is their language. That's the key. Explaining keeps you in the past. Action moves you forward. Explaining is reactive. Action is proactive. Explaining is emotional. Action is disciplined. It's not about being rude. It's about being focused. Discipline requires fewer words and more repetition. You have a choice. Every time you feel the urge to explain, first, ask yourself one question. Would action be better right now? Most of the time, the answer is yes. That's not coincidence. That's awareness. Results don't need explanations. Here's a practical rule. If it hasn't produced results yet, don't talk about it. If it's still fragile, protect it with silence. If it matters, work on it quietly. Silence gives you room to fail privately and improve without pressure. That's the key. Explaining invites opinions. Opinions invite doubt. Doubt slows action. Silence removes all three. You don't need their permission to stop answering questions that don't matter. You don't need to convince anyone who isn't walking your path. Your job is not to be understood. Your job is to be consistent. It's not about confidence. It's not about communication skills. It's about discipline. Results don't need explanations. Notice how often explanations come after broken promises. Broken promises to yourself. You didn't wake up. You didn't train. You didn't finish. So you explain. But explanations don't rebuild trust with yourself. Only action does. That's the key. Self-respect grows from follow-through, not from excuses. The more you explain, the more you erode self-trust. The less you explain, the more space you create for discipline. You have a choice. Silence is uncomfortable at first. People will ask questions. They'll push. Let them. Discipline doesn't answer to noise. Over time, something shifts. They stop asking. They start noticing. And eventually, they start respecting. Results don't need explanations. Here's another hard truth. If you need to explain your discipline, it's not discipline yet. Real discipline is visible. It leaves evidence. In your body, in your work, in your habits. That's the standard. Stop narrating your transformation. Live it. Stop explaining your boundaries. Enforce them. Stop talking about consistency. Become consistent. That's the key. This chapter is about removing friction. Not from your environment, but from your identity. When you stop explaining, you stop negotiating. Negotiation is where discipline dies. Silence closes the negotiation. You don't need their permission. Not to be quiet. Not to be focused. Not to be unavailable. Unavailable is not rude. Unavailable is disciplined. Results don't need explanations. You've learned how environment shapes behavior. Now you're learning how language shapes discipline. The words you say out loud become contracts with yourself. So choose fewer words. Choose stronger actions. Let silence sharpen you. Because the less you explain, the more you execute. And execution is everything. You've dropped the need to justify. You've dropped the need to be understood. Now there's only one thing left. Time is the currency you've been wasting on explanations, distractions, and noise. You've removed the noise. You've embraced silence. Now it's time to master the currency itself. You've stopped explaining. Now it's time to stop leaking time. Chapter 8. Pain is the price. Pain is unavoidable. That's not an opinion. That's reality. The only thing you control is when you and what you get in return. You have a choice. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain. They delay discomfort. They soften effort. They escape pressure. And they are shocked when pain finds them anyway. Avoiding pain doesn't remove it. It delays it. That's the key. There are only two types of pain in this life. The pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Both hurt. Only one pays you back. The pain of discipline is sharp but short. It burns, then builds. It demands effort now and gives freedom later. The pain of regret is quiet but endless. It whispers at night. It follows you for years. It never stops collecting interest. Avoiding pain doesn't remove it. It delays it. Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they're pain avoidant. Psychologically, the brain is wired to seek comfort. It wants safety. It wants ease. It wants relief. But growth does not live there. Growth lives in resistance. Progress lives in pressure. Change lives in discomfort. That's the key. When you skip the workout, you're not skipping pain. You're postponing it. When you avoid the hard conversation, you're not choosing peace. You're choosing future stress. When you delay action, you're not protecting yourself. You're compounding regret. Avoiding pain doesn't remove it. It delays it. You don't need their permission to choose discipline over comfort. You don't need approval to embrace discomfort. You don't need motivation to accept pain as part of the process. It's not about toughness. It's not about suffering for no reason. It's about payment timing. That's the key. Here's the truth most people avoid. Pain is mandatory. Struggle is not optional. Resistance is the entry fee. The only question is, will the pain make you better or bitter? You have a choice. The pain of discipline feels heavy at first. Early mornings, repetition, saying no, staying consistent when no one is watching. But that pain has an expiration date. The pain of regret feels light at first. Skipping today feels harmless. Delaying feels reasonable. Comfort feels deserved. But that pain grows teeth. Avoiding pain doesn't remove it. It delays it. Look at your habits. Every bad habit is an attempt to avoid short-term pain. Scrolling instead of focusing. Eating instead of feeling. Sleeping instead of training. Explaining instead of acting. Temporary relief. Permanent cost. That's the key. Discipline flips the equation. You accept discomfort now to buy peace later. You accept effort now To earn confidence later, you accept pain now. To avoid regret later. It's not about willpower. It's about clarity. You don't drift into discipline. You decide into it. You have a choice. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop pretending pain is a sign you're doing something wrong. Stop treating discomfort like danger. Stop running from resistance. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the signal. The signal that growth is happening. The signal that limits are being challenged. The signal that discipline is working. That's the key. Here's what you must start doing. Start choosing your pain deliberately. Choose the pain that builds you. Choose the pain that strengthens you. Choose the pain that pays dividends. Cold discipline now, or warm regret later. Hard effort now, or hard consequences later. Avoiding pain doesn't remove it. It delays it. This applies everywhere. In fitness, the pain of training, or the pain of decline. In business, the pain of learning, or the pain of stagnation. In relationships, the pain of honesty, or the pain of resentment. In self-respect, the pain of discipline, or the pain of disappointment. You have a choice. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's punishment. It's not. Discipline is self-respect in action. It's choosing discomfort because you believe you're worth more. That's the key. Weakness is not feeling pain. Weakness is avoiding it. Strength is not pretending it doesn't hurt. Strength is acting anyway. It's not about emotion. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. Avoiding pain doesn't remove it. It delays it. Here's a practical shift you must make. Stop asking, how can I avoid pain? Start asking, which pain leads where I want to go? That question changes everything. The brain stops negotiating. The excuses lose power. The path becomes clear. You don't need their permission to choose the harder path. You don't need understanding to commit to effort. You don't need applause to endure discomfort. Results don't come from comfort. They come from consistent resistance. That's the key. Let's be realistic. Some days will hurt. Some days will feel heavy. Some days you will want to quit. But that means you're paying the right price. The problem isn't pain. The problem is surprise. People quit because they didn't expect it to hurt. Now you know. Pain is the price. Pay it up front. Avoiding pain doesn't remove it. It delays it. You have a choice. When pain shows up, don't ask how to escape it. Ask how to use it. Use it as proof of effort. Use it as feedback. Use it as fuel. Discipline doesn't eliminate pain. It gives pain meaning. That's the key. Regret, on the other hand, has no meaning. It's pain with no progress. Suffering with no return. Cost with no reward. That's why it's deadly. Every disciplined action is a small vote against future regret. Every avoided action is a quiet agreement to pay later. You have a choice. This chapter is not here to scare you. It's here to free you. Once you accept pain as mandatory, you stop fearing it. Once you choose pain consciously, it loses control over you. That's power. Discipline is not about being harsh. It's about being honest. Honest about the cost. Honest about the process. Honest about the price. Avoiding pain doesn't remove it. It delays it. You are not broken because it's hard. You are not failing because it hurts. You are becoming disciplined because you're still moving. That's the key. Now you understand something critical. Comfort is not the reward. Ease is not the goal. Freedom is. And freedom is bought with pain. Paid early. You've accepted the price. You've stopped running. Now there's one final barrier left. The one most people never overcome. Consistency over time. You've chosen your pain. Now you must repeat it. Time is not on your side. Time is not neutral. It is not patient. It is not waiting for you to feel ready. Time is moving. Right now. With or without your permission. That's the first truth you must accept. You have a choice. Most people live as if time is unlimited. As if next year is guaranteed. As if someday is a real date on the calendar. It's not. Time is not on your side. It never has been. That's the key. Psychologically, the human brain is terrible at understanding time. It discounts the future. It overvalues the present. It trades long-term results for short-term comfort. That's why procrastination feels harmless. That's why delay feels reasonable. That's why urgency feels uncomfortable. But reality doesn't care how you feel. Time doesn't negotiate. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't pause while you decide. Every day you hesitate, time votes against you. You have a choice. Here's the brutal truth. You are not early in your journey. You are not late either. You are now. And now is shrinking. That's the key. Most people think they're wasting time only when they're doing nothing. Scrolling, watching, distracting. That's wrong. You waste time every time you delay a decision. Every time you postpone action. Every time you wait for clarity instead of creating it. Waiting is expensive. And time charges interest. You don't need their permission to act with urgency. You don't need approval to treat your time like it matters. You don't need motivation to respect the clock. It's not about panic. It's not about rushing. It's about awareness. Time is not on your side. That's the key. Here's what most people don't understand. Time doesn't just pass. It closes doors. Opportunities expire. Energy declines. Tolerance for risk shrinks. The things you could do at 20 are harder at 30. Different at 40. Rare at 50. That's not pessimism. That's biology. The window doesn't slam shut overnight. It narrows quietly, day by day, excuse by excuse. You have a choice. Look at your behavior. How many plans are still plans? How many ideas are still ideas? How many promises are still soon? That's time leaking, and it never comes back. That's the key. People say, I don't have time. What they mean is, it's not a priority. That's honest. That's real. But stop lying to yourself about the cost. Every time you choose comfort, time takes something from you. Momentum, confidence, belief. Avoiding action doesn't remove the pressure. It compounds it. Time is not on your side. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop treating time like it's renewable. Stop assuming you'll feel different later. Stop believing urgency is optional. Urgency is discipline applied to time. That's the key. You don't rise to your goals. You sink to how you use your hours. And most people leak hours everywhere. Late nights with no purpose. Mornings with no structure. Days with no intention. Then they wonder why years disappear. You have a choice. Here's what you must start doing. Start compressing your timelines. Start acting faster on less information. Start respecting momentum. Speed creates clarity. Action creates confidence. Waiting creates doubt. That's the key. Time rewards movement, not perfection. You don't need the perfect plan. You need the next step. You don't need certainty. You need commitment. You don't need more time. You need fewer delays. It's not about intelligence. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. Time is not on your side. Let's talk about fear. Fear loves time. Fear grows in delay. Fear feeds on later. When you wait, fear has room to talk, to negotiate, to exaggerate. When you act, fear shuts up. That's the key. Urgency kills fear. Movement silences doubt. The longer you wait, the heavier everything feels. The moment you move, weight shifts. You have a choice. Most people believe they'll get serious someday. After this phase. After this situation. After this season. But life doesn't work in seasons. It works in windows. And windows close. Quietly. Without announcement. Time is not on your side. That's the key. You are not behind because you lack ability. You're behind because you tolerated delay. You tolerated distractions. You tolerated excuses. You tolerated drift. Discipline is simply intolerance for waste. Waste of energy. Waste of focus. Waste of time. It's not about being extreme. It's about being precise. You don't need their permission to move with urgency. You don't need validation to take your time seriously. You don't need consensus to decide today matters. That's the key. Let's be clear. Urgency does not mean chaos. It means priority. It means deciding what matters and cutting everything else. Less noise. More action. Time is not on your side, but discipline can put you back in control. Here's a practical rule. If something matters, it goes on the calendar, not the to-do list, not the wish list. The calendar. If it's not scheduled, it's a lie you're telling yourself. That's the key. Stop trusting future you to be different. Future you is built by present you. Every disciplined hour is a gift forward. Every wasted hour is a debt. You have a choice. Understand this. Time doesn't change your life. What you do with it does. Time doesn't heal regret. Action does. Time doesn't build momentum. Consistency does. That's the key. Most people wake up one day and realize time ran out on the version of life they wanted. Not because they failed, but because they waited. You are hearing this now. So that doesn't happen to you. Time is not on your side. But discipline can be. Urgency sharpens focus. Focus creates progress. Progress compounds. You don't need more years. You need better days. And better days come from repetition. You've accepted pain. You've understood cost. You've recognized urgency. Now comes the multiplier. The force that turns small effort into massive change. You've stopped pretending time is unlimited. Now you must learn to use it relentlessly. You've faced the clock. Now you must outwork it. Chapter 9. Identity creates behavior. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. That's the truth most people never confront. You act like who you believe you are. Every day. In small ways. Without thinking. That's the key. If you believe you're inconsistent, you will miss days. If you believe you're unlucky, you will hesitate. If you believe you always quit, you will find a reason to stop. You have a choice. Most people try to change behavior first. They chase motivation. They force habits. They fight themselves. And they fail. Because behavior does not lead identity. Identity leads behavior. You don't act your way into belief. You believe your way into action. That's the key. But here's the part that changes everything. Identity is not fixed. It is trained. And it is trained through action. At first, identity follows. Say it again. At first, identity follows. You have a choice. Your brain is constantly asking one question. What kind of person am I? Every action you take is evidence. Every action you skip is also evidence. That's the key. When you keep promises to yourself, your identity strengthens. When you break them, your identity weakens. Not emotionally, neurologically. The brain learns by pattern. It doesn't care about your intentions. It tracks your actions. That's why talk is dangerous. Talking gives the illusion of identity. Without the evidence, you say you're disciplined, but you don't act disciplined. The brain notices, and it updates your identity downward. You have a choice. Most people sabotage themselves quietly, not with big failures, but with small betrayals. I'll start tomorrow. I'll skip today. It doesn't matter this once. It always matters, because identity is built in moments. No one sees. That's the key. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop describing yourself based on emotion. Stop labeling yourself based on the past. Stop saying, "That's just who I am." That's not who you are. That's who you've practiced being. And practice can change. You don't need their permission to redefine yourself. You don't need approval to become disciplined. You don't need a personality transplant. You need evidence. At first, identity follows. Here's what you must start doing. Start making identity-based commitments. Not outcomes. Not goals. Actions. Instead of saying, "I want to be fit," "I am someone who trains today." Instead of saying, "I want to be focused," "I am someone who starts immediately." Instead of saying, "I want discipline," "I am someone who finishes what I start." That's the key. Small actions. Repeatable actions. Non-negotiable actions. Identity does not change in leaps. It changes in votes. Every workout is a vote. Every focused hour is a vote. Every hard choice is a vote. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. At first, identity follows. Psychologically, this matters because the brain resists conflict. If you see yourself as disciplined, acting undisciplined creates discomfort. That discomfort pushes you back into alignment. But if you see yourself as inconsistent, discipline feels foreign, uncomfortable, temporary. That's why people relapse. They changed behavior, but not identity. That's the key. Discipline sticks when it matches who you believe you are. So you must earn that belief, one action at a time. You have a choice. Here's a practical rule. Never miss twice. Miss once, you made a mistake. Miss twice, you're teaching your brain a new identity. That's the key. One skipped workout doesn't define you. A pattern does. One lazy day doesn't label you. Repeated avoidance does. Protect your identity fiercely. It is fragile at first, and powerful once built. At first, identity follows. Another trap to avoid. Stop borrowing identity from other people. I'm not like them. I'm not built that way. They're just different. That's a lie that keeps you comfortable. Discipline is not genetic. Consistency is not luck. It's trained. You don't need their permission to become someone new. You need proof. And proof comes from action. That's the key. Let's be honest. The reason most people don't change is because they don't want to let go of their old identity. It feels familiar, predictable, even if it's painful. But growth requires identity death. You must stop being the person who delays, who explains, who negotiates, and become the person who is. That transition feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is the sound of identity shifting. You have a choice. Here's another practical instruction. Lower the bar for starting. Raise the standard for showing up. 5 minutes. 1 page. 1 set. But show up daily. Identity doesn't care about intensity. It cares about frequency. That's the key. Consistency tells the brain, this is who we are now. Not someday, but at first. Identity follows. Watch what happens. Confidence increases quietly. self-trust rebuilds. Excuses lose power. Not because you feel different, but because you are different. Evidence changes belief. That's the key. It's not about talent. It's not about personality. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. And discipline is identity in motion. You have a choice. Stop waiting to feel like a disciplined person. That feeling comes later. Start acting like one now. Stop saying, "I'm trying." Trying is an identity of hesitation. Start saying nothing and doing something. Results don't need explanations. Actions speak directly to the brain. That's the key. You are not broken. You are untrained. And training begins with repetition. At first, identity follows. Every day you show up, you rewrite your story. Quietly. Permanently. You don't need a breakthrough. You need a streak. 5 days. 10 days. 30 days. Identity bends. 90 days? Identity locks. That's the key. Remember this. The strongest form of discipline is self-consistency. Doing what you said you would do, long after the mood has left. That is identity. You have a choice. You can keep rehearsing the identity that keeps you stuck, or you can build a new one with action. Today, not tomorrow, not next week. But you've learned that pain is the price. You've learned time is limited. You've learned identity drives behavior. Now it's time to install the engine that makes identity permanent. Not intensity, not motivation, repetition. You've rebuilt who you are. Now you must protect it daily. Consistency is the real superpower. Consistency is not exciting. It doesn't look powerful. It doesn't feel dramatic. And that's exactly why it works. Consistency is the quiet force that outperforms talent, luck, and motivation. Over time, that's the key. Most people are addicted to intensity. They want breakthroughs. They want transformations. They want results now. So they sprint. They burn hot. They go all in. And then they disappear. You have a choice. Intensity feels productive. Consistency is productive. Intensity impresses people. Consistency changes lives. That's the key. Psychologically, the brain loves novelty. New plans, new routines, new promises. But novelty fades. And when it fades, most people quit because they never trained consistency. Consistency is not a personality trait. It's a practiced behavior. And it is the real superpower. You don't need their permission to move slowly and relentlessly. You don't need applause to show up again. You don't need motivation to repeat yesterday's effort. It's not about excitement. It's about discipline. That's the key. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't fail because they stop. They fail because they stop showing up. They wait for the perfect day, the perfect mood, the perfect setup. Consistency doesn't wait. Consistency says, do it anyway. You have a choice. Every day you either reinforce momentum or you reset it. And resets are expensive. When you stop, your brain forgets. Your habits weaken. Your confidence leaks. Your identity cracks. That's the key. Consistency protects progress. Even when effort is small. Even when energy is low. Even when results are invisible. Especially then. This is where discipline replaces weakness. Weakness looks like this. All or nothing. Discipline looks like this. Something every day. It's not about the flaw. It's about discipline. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. That's the trap. Consistency plays the long game. And the long game always wins. You have a choice. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop restarting your life every Monday. Stop making promises you can't repeat. Stop confusing effort with progress. Progress comes from repetition. That's the key. You don't need heroic days. You need ordinary days done right. Training when you're tired. Working when it's boring. Showing up when no one notices. Consistency is unglamorous and unstoppable. Psychologically, repetition rewires the brain. Neurons that fire together wire together. That means every repeated action becomes easier, not because it hurts less, but because resistance weakens. That's the key. Consistency lowers friction. The first day is hard. The 10th day is easier. The 100th day is automatic. This is how discipline becomes identity. You have a choice. Most people wait to feel consistent. That feeling never comes first. Consistency creates the feeling, not the other way around. Action precedes confidence. Repetition precedes belief. That's the key. Here's a rule that changes everything. Never miss more than once. Miss one day, you're human. Miss two, you're building a new habit. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about containment. You stop slippage early. That's discipline. You don't need their permission to protect your streak. You don't need validation to keep your standards. You don't need excitement to keep going. It's not about motivation. It's about systems. Consistency thrives in structure. Same time, same place, same rules. Remove decisions. Reduce friction. Repeat. That's the key. Let's talk about boredom. Boredom is the final test. Anyone can start when it's new. Few continue when it's dull. But boredom is not a signal to stop. It's a signal you're close to mastery. Consistency lives on the other side of boredom. You have a choice. When boredom shows up, most people escape. Disciplined people lean in. They understand something critical. Boredom is cheaper than regret. That's the key. Here's another truth. Consistency compounds invisibly. For a long time, it looks like nothing is happening. No praise, no breakthrough, no reward. Then one day, everything moves. People call it luck. They call it talent. They didn't see the repetition. Consistency is invisible until it's undeniable. You have a choice. Stop chasing results. Start chasing reps. Results are delayed. Reps are immediate. You can always do one more rep, one more page, one more focused minute. That's discipline. It's not about intensity. It's about frequency. A little done daily beats a lot done rarely. That's the key. This applies everywhere. Fitness, business, learning, relationships. Trust is built by consistency. Skill is built by consistency. Confidence is built by consistency. There is no substitute. You don't need their permission to take the slow path. You don't need approval to repeat simple actions. You don't need recognition to stay consistent. Results don't need explanations. Consistency speaks for itself. That's the key. Here's a practical instruction. Lower your daily targets. Raise your daily standards. Small enough to repeat. Strict enough to matter. 10 minutes. 1 page. 1 task finished fully. Then do it again tomorrow. Consistency doesn't ask how you feel. It asks if you show up. You have a choice. Most people break promises to themselves and then wonder why self-trust is gone. Consistency rebuilds trust. Every kept promise is a deposit. Every skipped promise is a withdrawal. Eventually, the account shows the truth. That's the key. If you want confidence, be consistent. If you want discipline, be consistent. If you want power, be consistent. Not for a week, not for a burst, for long enough. That quitting feels strange. Consistency rewires your default. That's the key. Understand this. Intensity changes your schedule. Consistency changes your life. Intensity is loud. Consistency is permanent. You have a choice. Stop waiting for big days. Honor the small ones. Stop trying to impress. Focus on repeating. Stop asking if it's working. Ask if you're consistent. It's not about speed. It's about direction. And consistency keeps you moving. When motivation disappears, that's the key. You've learned that pain is the price. You've learned time is limited. You've learned identity shapes behavior. Now you've learned the engine that makes everything stick. Consistency. But consistency needs protection. Because the world is loud. Distractions are constant. Opinions are endless. To stay consistent, you must learn when to stop talking and start guarding your focus. You've built the habit. Now you must protect it. Chapter 10. Consistency is unsexy but unstoppable. Consistency is boring. It doesn't excite people. It doesn't look impressive. And that's exactly why it works. Consistency doesn't care about attention. It cares about results. That's the key. Most people chase intensity. They want dramatic change. They want emotional highs. They want to feel powerful. So they work hard for a week. They push fast. They burn bright. And then they disappear. You have a choice. Intensity makes you feel alive. Consistency makes you effective. Intensity is loud. Consistency is quiet. Intensity starts movements. Consistency finishes them. That's the key. Psychologically, humans crave novelty. The brain lights up with new plans, new routines, new goals. But novelty fades fast. When the excitement disappears, discipline is all that remains. And most people never train discipline. Consistency is unsexy because it asks you to repeat the same actions long after the emotion is gone. That's why it's rare. That's why it's powerful. You don't need their permission to do boring work. You don't need approval to repeat simple tasks. You don't need motivation to show up again. It's not about passion. It's about discipline. Consistency beats intensity every time. Say it again. Consistency beats intensity every time. You have a choice. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're inconsistent. They start strong. They stop early. They mistake effort for commitment. Commitment shows up after motivation leaves. That's the key. Consistency is what you do when there's no excitement, no praise, no visible progress. That's where transformation lives. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop waiting for the right mood. Stop chasing perfect days. Stop resetting every time you slip. Restarting wastes energy. Continuing builds power. Consistency beats intensity every time. Here's what you must start doing. Start building routines you can repeat. Not routines that impress people. Routines that survive bad days. Short workouts. Focused work blocks. Simple habits. Boring. Effective. That's the key. Discipline is not heroic. It's mechanical. Same time. Same place. Same rules. Remove decisions. Reduce friction. Repeat. That's consistency. It's not about the flaw. It's about discipline. Most people quit because progress feels slow. They don't see results. They don't feel rewarded. But consistency compounds invisibly. For weeks, nothing changes. For months, little changes. Then one day, everything changes. That's the curve most people never stay long enough to reach. Consistency beats intensity every time. You have a choice. Let's talk about boredom. Boredom is the test. Anyone can work when it's exciting. Few can work when it's dull. But boredom is not a stop sign. It's a signal that habits are forming. Boredom means repetition is working. That's the key. When work becomes boring, most people escape. They scroll, they distract. Disciplined people stay. They understand something others don't. Boring work today creates freedom tomorrow. Intensity burns energy. Consistency builds momentum. Momentum is priceless. You don't need their permission to move slowly. You don't need validation to keep going quietly. You don't need recognition to stay disciplined. Results don't need explanations. Consistency speaks for itself. That's the key. Here's a practical instruction. Lower your daily expectations. Raise your daily standards. Small enough to repeat. Strict enough to matter. 10 minutes every day beats 2 hours once a week. 1 page a day beats a book never finished. 1 workout today beats the perfect plan tomorrow. Consistency beats intensity every time. This applies everywhere. Fitness, business, learning, self-control. Strong bodies are built by consistency. Strong minds are built by consistency. Strong lives are built by consistency. There is no shortcut. You have a choice. Stop trying to impress. Start trying to repeat. Stop chasing results. Start chasing reps. Results are delayed. Reps are immediate. That's the key. Here's another truth. Consistency builds self-trust. Every time you do what you said you would do, confidence grows. Every time you skip, self-respect weakens. Not emotionally, neurologically. The brain records behavior, not promises. Consistency teaches the brain. This is who we are. That identity becomes automatic. That's the key. Intensity creates stories. Consistency creates identity. Most people want the identity without the repetition. It doesn't work that way. You earn identity through consistency. You have a choice. Let's be clear. You don't need extreme routines. You need sustainable ones. You don't need to dominate every day. You need to show up every day. You don't need perfect weeks. You need unbroken streaks. Consistency beats intensity every time. When motivation disappears, consistency carries you. When energy drops, consistency protects you. When life gets chaotic, consistency stabilizes you. That's power. Here's what discipline actually is. Discipline is deciding once and refusing to renegotiate. No daily debates. No emotional bargaining. You do the work because that's who you are. That's the key. Most people negotiate with themselves daily. Should I? Do I feel like it? Maybe later. Negotiation is where consistency dies. Decide once. Repeat forever. You don't need their permission to live this way. You don't need consensus to build discipline. You don't need approval to become consistent. It's not about intensity. It's about discipline. Consistency beats intensity every time. Let's talk about patience. Consistency requires patience. And patience is a skill. You won't be rewarded immediately. You won't be praised early. You won't feel progress at first. But that filters out people who don't deserve the result. Consistency is selective. Only those willing to be bored earn the outcome. That's the key. Most people want results fast because they don't trust themselves long-term. Consistency is long-term self-trust. Saying, I will show up even when nothing changes. That belief becomes unbreakable. You have a choice. Every day you either reinforce consistency or weaken it. There is no neutral. Small actions matter. Missed days matter. Repeated effort matters. This is how discipline replaces weakness. Not with force, with repetition. Consistency beats intensity every time. Understand this. Intensity can change a day. Consistency changes a life. Intensity is emotional. Consistency is structural. Intensity is temporary. Consistency is permanent. That's the key. You've learned that pain is unavoidable. You've learned time is limited. You've learned identity drives behavior. Now you've learned the engine that sustains everything. Consistency. But consistency requires protection. Protection from noise. Protection from opinions. Protection from distraction. To stay consistent, you must learn when to stop reacting and start guarding your focus. You've built momentum. Now you must protect it. You've mastered repetition. Now it's time to master restraint. Consistency beats intensity. Consistency is not flashy. It doesn't feel heroic. It doesn't impress anyone. And that's exactly why it wins. Most people chase intensity. They chase fire. They chase emotional highs. They chase big breakthroughs. They sprint hard for a week. They push fast. They burn bright. And then they disappear. You have a choice. Intensity excites. Consistency delivers. Intensity creates stories. Consistency creates results. That's the key. Here's the truth few want to hear. Motivation is unreliable. Inspiration is fleeting. Emotion fades. Discipline survives. Consistency survives. Most people stop when emotion disappears. The disciplined keep going. The consistent keep showing up. You have a choice. Consistency is boring. It's repetitive. It asks you to do small things every single day. But small actions, repeated, compound. They build momentum that lasts. They build habits that stick. They build identities that cannot be shaken. That's the key. Let's break it down. You want results? Not for a week, not for a month. You want results that last a lifetime. You cannot sprint forever. You cannot rely on adrenaline. You cannot rely on bursts. But you can show up every day. 1 hour of work every day. 1 focused effort every day. 1 small action every day. Done consistently. That is unstoppable. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Repeat it. Consistency beats intensity every time. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day. They underestimate what they can do in a year. That's the trap. 1 intense week may feel transformative, but a small effort every day for a year changes everything. Consistency is the slow engine. Intensity is the loud rocket. The rocket dazzles. The engine wins the race. You have a choice. Here's what you must stop doing. Stop starting over every Monday. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop quitting because it's boring. That's weakness. Weakness looks like, I'll start when I feel like it. I'll give my best when it's exciting. I'll push only when I have energy. Discipline looks like, I show up. I do the work. I repeat no matter how I feel. That's the key. Consistency is a skill, not a personality trait. It is trained. It is built. It is reinforced daily. The more you repeat, the easier it becomes. The habit grows. The identity grows. The results grow. Consistency beats intensity every time. Let's talk about boredom. Boredom is the final test. Anyone can act when it's exciting. Few can act when it's dull. Boredom is not a signal to stop. Boredom is a signal you are building something that matters. Most quit. Few lean in. Few persist. You have a choice. The consistent lean in. They do the boring work anyway. They trust that repetition compounds. That's the key. Here's a practical instruction. Lower the daily target. Raise the daily standard. Do a small, repeatable action every day. 1 focused hour. 1 page. 1 call. 1 task finished completely. That's consistency. That's discipline. That's power. Forget intensity. Forget all or nothing. Forget dramatic bursts. Consistency beats intensity every time. Here's another truth. Consistency builds self-trust. Every day you do what you said you would do. Your brain records it. Your identity shifts. Your confidence grows. Skip a day? No problem. Skip 2? The streak breaks. Momentum leaks. Self-trust diminishes. Consistency protects progress. Discipline maintains momentum. Repetition rewires the brain. That's the key. Stop chasing results. Start chasing reps. Results are delayed. Reps are immediate. 10 minutes every day beats 2 hours once a week. 1 page every day beats a book never finished. 1 call every day beats weeks of indecision. Consistency beats intensity every time. This applies everywhere. Fitness, learning, business, relationships. Trust is built by showing up. Skill is built by repetition. Confidence is built by repeated small wins. You have a choice. Stop negotiating with yourself daily. Decide once. Show up every day. Repeat. That is unstoppable. Intensity changes your schedule. Consistency changes your life. Intensity impresses. Consistency transforms. It is unsexy. It is boring. It is invisible. Until results appear. Then everyone notices. Consistency beats intensity every time. You've learned that pain is the price. You've learned identity creates behavior. You've learned that showing up consistently builds trust. Now you've learned the superpower that drives it all. Consistency. It's quiet. It's patient. It's invisible. It's unstoppable. You have a choice. Now protect it. Protect your focus. Protect your routine. Protect your repetition. Distractions will come. Opinions will come. Excuses will come. Ignore them. Stay consistent. Repeat. That's discipline. That's power. That's freedom. You've mastered the engine. Now it's time to silence the noise. Chapter 11. The Discipline of Silence. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. Silence is focus. Most people fear silence. They fear what they will hear when no one is talking. They fear the stillness of thought. So they fill it. They scroll. They chatter. They justify. They explain. So that's the first rule. Silence is not a punishment. It is a tool. It is a weapon. It is a shield. You have a choice. Every moment you speak unnecessarily, you are giving away energy. Every time you explain, you dilute your power. Every time you react instead of observing, you surrender control. Silence keeps you in control. Silence builds focus. Silence amplifies results. That's the key. Most people think they need to explain themselves. They think clarity comes from words. They think action must be justified. Wrong. Results do not need explanations. Discipline does not need validation. Consistency does not need applause. You have a choice. Silence is the daily practice of mastery. It is the quiet before creation. It is the pause before precision. It is the space where clarity emerges. Here's the truth. People who succeed long-term do not speak for attention. They act for results. They observe before they respond. They measure before they move. Silence is a habit built on restraint, a habit built on patience, a habit built on self-respect. Repetition reinforces it. Every day you stop reacting. Every day you stop explaining. Every day you observe first and act second. You strengthen the discipline of silence. You have a choice. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is strategy. It allows you to think. It allows you to plan. It allows you to respond, not react. Most people confuse noise with power. They think the louder they are, the stronger they appear. False. Power is invisible. Power is silent. Power is consistent. That's the key. Here's how you build it. Stop explaining yourself. Every explanation is an excuse in disguise. Every justification is wasted energy. Keep actions your message. Let results speak. Observe before you respond. In any conversation, pause. Listen fully. Understand fully. Then act. Create quiet routines. Morning, night, and throughout the day. Silence is cultivated in the gaps. Technology, social media, noise, remove them strategically. Use these gaps to plan, reflect, and focus. Silence is the ultimate amplifier of discipline. The moment you accept that you do not need to comment on everything, you reclaim your energy. You reclaim your focus. You reclaim your power. Here's a psychological truth. When your mind is noisy, your actions are reactive. When your mind is silent, your actions are deliberate. When your mind is deliberate, results are inevitable. That's the key. Let's address the fear. Fear of silence comes from fear of self. Fear of facing thoughts unfiltered. Fear of realizing weakness. Face it. Sit with it. Learn from it. Silence is the mirror that reveals your truth. Discipline is built here. Strength is built here. Identity is forged here. You have a choice. Silence is also the tool of observation. Observe your environment. Observe people's actions. Observe opportunities. Observe your own patterns. Observation without action is useless. Action without observation is reckless. Silence creates the balance. The world rewards those who master it. The impatient, the loud, the reactive, they burn energy and make mistakes. The silent, the focused, execute perfectly. You have a choice. Silence also guards against ego. The quieter you become, the less you seek validation. The quieter you become, the more respect you command. The quieter you become, the more control you hold over outcomes. That's the key. Action guided by silence is unstoppable. Your life is filled with noise. Emails, messages, opinions, obligations. Every day, these demand your attention. Every day, these drain your energy. You have a choice. Filter it. Ignore what does not serve. Speak only when necessary. Act deliberately. That's discipline. Silence also sharpens perception. When you are quiet, you notice patterns. You notice opportunities others miss. You notice mistakes before they escalate. You have a choice. Silence is not the absence of life. It is the presence of control. It is the presence of foresight. It is the presence of mastery. Here's a daily exercise. Schedule 2 silent hours. No talking. No scrolling. No explaining. Only focus. Reflect. Plan. Act with intention. Repeat this daily. Your ability to focus, observe, and execute will multiply. Consistency in silence builds unshakable discipline. Most people resist it. They fear boredom. They fear judgment. They fear discomfort. But that's where growth happens. Silence teaches patience. Silence teaches clarity. Silence teaches restraint. Discipline without silence is wasted energy. Focus without silence is scattered. Action without silence is reactive. That's the key. The disciplined do not explain. The disciplined do not overreact. The disciplined observe. They pause. They act with precision. Your energy is limited. Your attention is valuable. Your results depend on both. Silence protects them. You have a choice. From today, speak less. Observe more. Act deliberately. Guard your energy. Silence is your ally. Silence is your teacher. Silence is your superpower. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes. The more you protect it, the sharper your execution. The louder world will never understand. It doesn't need to. You act. You win. You repeat. Power is silent. Discipline is quiet. Results speak louder than words. You've mastered consistency. You've mastered action. Now you master silence. Your energy is safe. Your focus is intact. Your results are inevitable. You have a choice. Every lesson builds. Every pause refines. Every silent action moves you closer to the life you are capable of creating. This is not theory. This is practice. This is power. And it begins with silence. Chapter 12. Stop negotiating with yourself. Every negotiation starts small. It seems harmless. It seems rational. It seems temporary. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. I'll just rest today. I need more time to think. So, that's the trap. Every debate you have with yourself chips away at your power. Every argument you make in your own mind strengthens weakness. Every delay trains your brain to obey comfort, not ambition. You have a choice. Decide once. Execute daily. That's the key. The moment you debate action, excuses have already won. The moment you allow hesitation, progress stops. The moment you rationalize delay, you reinforce weakness. Most people live in this state. Constantly negotiating. Constantly justifying. Constantly explaining to themselves why they can't start, why they can't commit, why they can't be disciplined today. It's exhausting. And it's silent. The world doesn't notice. Your results do. You have a choice. Discipline is built by stopping negotiation. It is forged by deciding once and removing the question from your mind forever. It is strengthened by automatic action. Here's the truth. Your mind will always try to bargain. Your emotions will always plead. Your comfort will always whisper. That's why most people never succeed. They negotiate their own greatness. They debate their own potential. They give power to hesitation. Not you. You act. You execute. You move. Decide once. Execute daily. Let's break this down. The cost of negotiation. Every time you negotiate with yourself, you waste energy. Every argument in your head is a drain. Every delay reinforces weakness. Ask yourself, when you say, I'll start later, what are you really doing? You are training your brain to obey comfort. You are telling yourself, I don't need discipline right now. You are teaching your future self to fail. That's the cost. Painful. Silent. Deadly. You have a choice. Automatic decision-making. Remove negotiation entirely. Decide in advance. Decide once. Remove friction. For example, I will work out at 6 a.m. every day, no excuses. I will write 1,000 words every morning before email. I will spend 30 minutes on learning before scrolling. Decision made. Execution automatic. No debate. No argument. You have a choice. Your future self thanks you. Your goals thank you. Your results thank you. This is how winners operate. They do not negotiate. They act. They execute. They repeat. Discipline is a muscle. Discipline is not theory. It is action. Every time you negotiate with yourself, you weaken that muscle. Every time you act automatically, you strengthen it. Think about it like this. If you negotiate every meal, you will always eat poorly. If you negotiate every workout, you will always remain average. If you negotiate every decision about time, you will always fall behind. Decide once. Execute daily. That's the key. Recognize the whisper. Negotiation starts quietly. It whispers, "Just this once. I deserve a break. You can skip today." Do not listen. Do not rationalize. Do not allow. Those whispers are tiny assassins. They destroy momentum. They destroy focus. They destroy results. Silence them with action. Silence them with repetition. Silence them with discipline. You have a choice. The power of one decision. When you decide once, everything else becomes easier. When you commit, you remove friction. When you stop negotiating, every action becomes a step, not a battle. This is automatic execution. This is momentum. This is unstoppable progress. Here's the framework. Decide on the key actions you must take. Schedule them. Commit publicly if necessary. Execute daily. No exceptions. Your brain will try to negotiate. Your body will try to resist. Your comfort will try to lure you back. Ignore them. You have a choice. Real-world example. Look at the greats, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists. They do not debate whether to train. They do not argue with their schedules. They act because the decision was made long ago. Michael Jordan did not negotiate. He showed up every day, long before the game, before the fans, before the spotlight. Elon Musk does not negotiate with himself about working. He executes relentlessly, day after day, without hesitation. You have a choice. Your results depend on the same principle. Stop explaining, start doing. Negotiation often comes with explanation. I can't because I need to. I'm waiting for. Stop it. Results do not need explanations. Action does not require permission. Discipline does not seek approval. Decide once. Execute daily. You have a choice. The ripple effect. Stopping negotiation doesn't just impact one action. It changes every part of life. It trains your mind to obey ambition. It strengthens character. It improves focus. The more decisions you remove from the debate stage, the more mental energy you save. The more mental energy you save, the more execution you can perform. The more execution you perform, the faster you reach your goals. Momentum is created. Discipline becomes unstoppable. Excuses die silently. You have a choice. Practical exercise. Today, choose one action you have been negotiating with yourself about. Decide now. Write it down. Schedule it. Do it. No exceptions. No excuses. No debate. Repeat tomorrow. Repeat the next day. Repeat consistently. This is how the habit is built. This is how the muscle strengthens. This is how winners operate. You have a choice. The final truth. Every negotiation weakens you. Every hesitation empowers excuses. Every delay trains your mind to obey comfort, not ambition. So, decide once. Execute daily. You will be unstoppable. Your future self will not thank you for debating. Your goals will not wait. Your potential will not negotiate. This is not theory. This is action. This is discipline. Decide once. Execute daily. You have a choice. And now, as you finish this lesson, remember, every time you negotiate with yourself, you lose. Every time you act without debate, you win. You've conquered negotiation. Now it's time to face the discomfort that fuels growth. Silence hesitation. Ignore excuses. Step to the edge. Your life begins there. Chapter 13. Become relentless. Relentless. It's not a word. It's a lifestyle. A mindset. A condition. Most people think strength is physical. Most people think power is talent. Most people think persistence is optional. They are wrong. Relentlessness is not about being stronger than others. It's about refusing to give up when others would quit. It's about eliminating every escape route. No backup plan. No excuse plan. That's the key. You have a choice. The moment you remove the exits, you force yourself to succeed. You force yourself to endure. You force yourself to adapt. Relentless people don't wait for motivation. They don't negotiate with themselves. They don't bargain with comfort. They act. They push. They repeat. Every day. You have a choice. Here's the truth. When quitting is impossible, growth becomes inevitable. When surrender is not an option, strength appears. When escape is removed, you discover your capacity. You have a choice. 1. Remove all exit doors. Relentlessness starts with elimination. Stop creating alternatives that allow you to quit. No, you cannot try and see what happens. No, you cannot hedge your bets and hope it works out. Decide fully. Commit entirely. Remove your safety nets. Look at your life. How many soft exits have you left for yourself? How many just-in-case plans give you permission to walk away? Cut them. No backup plan. No excuse plan. That's the key. Your brain will panic at first. Your body will resist. Your comfort will scream. That's normal. It's called transformation. You have a choice. 2. Discipline is the foundation. Relentlessness is built on discipline. Talent alone cannot sustain it. Passion alone cannot sustain it. Discipline is the engine. Discipline shows up when you are tired. Discipline shows up when the excitement fades. Discipline shows up when the world is pushing against you. Repetition is your friend. Consistency is your ally. Action is your proof. Every small act compounds into unstoppable momentum. Every day you execute regardless of mood, you grow stronger. Every time you refuse to negotiate with yourself, you reinforce identity. You have a choice. 3. Mental toughness under pressure. Relentlessness is forged under stress. It is revealed in moments of pressure. It is proven in situations where most people fold. Think about the pressure you face today. Deadlines, criticism, physical fatigue, emotional exhaustion. Most people quit here. Most people rationalize. Most people fold and wait for easier days. Not you. You act under pressure. You take responsibility when everyone else blames. You move forward when the path is unclear. No backup plan. No excuse plan. That's the key. 4. Identity through repetition. Relentlessness is not a label. It is not something you claim. It is something you prove. You prove it by showing up. You prove it by continuing when others stop. You prove it by repeating the right actions until they become instinct. Your identity is built in the small moments. Not in the victories. Not in the celebrations. In the relentless grind, day after day, when no one is watching. You have a choice. 5. Quitters exist to teach you nothing. Stop looking for inspiration in others. Stop comparing yourself to people who give up easily. Stop rationalizing their behavior. Quitting is weakness disguised as logic. Excuses are failure pretending to be reason. Relentlessness ignores both. You have a choice. 6. Remove comfort, embrace pressure. Relentless people don't seek comfort. They remove it. They embrace pressure. They make hard unavoidable. Comfort is silent poison. It delays progress. It hides potential. Pressure reveals truth. It separates the weak from the strong. It forces growth. No backup plan. No excuse plan. That's the key. 7. Action overrides fear. Fear is constant. Doubt is constant. Comfort is constant. Relentless people act anyway. They move in spite of fear. They push through doubt. They repeat in spite of obstacles. Action is the antidote. Momentum is the shield. Discipline is the sword. You have a choice. 8. The long game mindset. Relentlessness is not for the short-term thinker. It is for those who understand the long game. It is for those who accept delayed gratification. It is for those who endure pain today to secure results tomorrow. Excuses are for the impatient. Negotiations are for the weak. Relentlessness is for the committed. No backup plan. No excuse plan. That's the key. 9. Real-world example. Look at the most successful people in the world. They did not quit when it was uncomfortable. They did not negotiate when it was inconvenient. They acted relentlessly, day after day, month after month, year after year. Entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, leaders, all share the same habit. No exits, no excuses, just execution. You have a choice. 10. The final test. Relentlessness is tested every single day. Every distraction is a test. Every delay is a test. Every time you feel like stopping is a test. And you pass by doing, by acting, by repeating. No backup plan. No excuse plan. That's the key. Your identity is proven under pressure. Your discipline is proven in repetition. Your strength is proven in action. You have a choice. 11. Your assignment. Today, remove one escape in your life. No hedging. No alternative. No negotiation. Take one action you've been avoiding. Do it. Do it again tomorrow. Do it until quitting is impossible. This is how you become relentless. This is how your identity is forged. This is how your life changes. No backup plan. No excuse plan. That's the key. 12. Closing reinforcement. Relentlessness is not for everyone. It is not comfortable. It is not easy. It is for those willing to endure. It is for those willing to execute. It is for those willing to remove all alternatives and commit fully. No backup plan. No excuse plan. That's the key. You've removed the exits. You've embraced the pressure. You've committed to daily action. You are relentless. And now, as this chapter closes, remember, the journey doesn't stop here. Relentlessness is not the final lesson. It is the foundation. You've mastered relentless execution. Now it's time to apply it to every corner of your life. Unstoppable tomorrow. No excuses. No negotiation. Just action. Chapter 14. Victory is a habit. Relentless today. Victory is not a moment. It is not a trophy. It is not applause. It is not recognition. Victory is a habit. It is a pattern. A series of actions repeated over time. A process embedded in your daily life. You have a choice. Most people believe victory is something that happens to them. They wait. They hope. They pray. They are wrong. Victory is earned in the unseen hours. In the early mornings when everyone else sleeps. In the moments when no one is watching. In the repeated actions you take when it feels pointless. That's the key. Relentless today. Victory tomorrow. 1. The habit of winning starts small. You don't wake up victorious. You don't walk into a room and declare success. You win incrementally. Every action matters. Every decision counts. Every choice shapes your future self. Did you make your bed today? Did you complete the task you've been avoiding? Did you choose discipline over comfort? Every yes is a small victory. Every repetition builds the habit of success. Every victory compounds over time. You have a choice. 2. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Victory is never handed to those who wait. It arrives to those who act. It arrives to those who refuse to pause for comfort, clarity, or validation. The world will never be perfect. The timing will never be ideal. The resources will never be enough. Act anyway. Repeat anyway. Push anyway. Relentless today. Victory tomorrow. 3. Discipline creates momentum. Habits are the engine. Discipline is the fuel. Repetition is the ignition. You do the work even when you don't feel like it. You show up when the excitement fades. You continue when others quit. Momentum grows silently. It accumulates quietly. It becomes unstoppable. You have a choice. For victory is a mindset, not a result. Many confuse victory with outcome. A promotion, a win, recognition, a trophy. These are results. They are consequences. They are external. Victory is internal. It is the way you approach life. It is the habits you cultivate. It is the identity you build. When your identity is aligned with winning, victory becomes inevitable. You have a choice. 5. Stop glorifying intensity, start honoring consistency. Intensity is tempting. It feels productive. It looks impressive. But intensity fades. It burns out. It leaves you empty. Consistency wins. Consistency builds. Consistency transforms. Small, repeated actions done daily create unstoppable progress. Small, repeated actions done daily make you a person who cannot fail. Relentless today. Victory tomorrow. 6. Embrace the struggle. Victory is not comfortable. It is not easy. It is not convenient. Every success is forged in struggle. Every skill is built through repetition. Every achievement is earned through discomfort. Avoiding struggle does not eliminate pain. It delays it. It amplifies it. Choose the pain of discipline now. Choose the discomfort that produces results. Choose to grow under pressure. You have a choice. 7. Identity precedes action. You act like who you believe you are. You win like who you believe you are. You live like who you believe you are. Decide today. You are a victor. You are relentless. You are unbreakable. Act daily as that person. Think daily as that person. Repeat daily as that person. Victory follows identity. It is not the other way around. Relentless today. Victory tomorrow. 8. No negotiation, no excuses. Victory is not for the negotiator. It is not for the rationalizer. It is not for the comfort seeker. Every debate with yourself weakens progress. Every excuse delays growth. Every hesitation gives power to failure. Decide once. Act daily. Repeat relentlessly. You have a choice. 9. Learn from every failure. Relentless people fail. They make mistakes. They stumble. But they do not quit. They do not rationalize. They do not blame. Every failure is feedback. Every setback is a lesson. Every challenge is an opportunity to improve. Victory is the sum of lessons applied consistently. Victory is the habit of learning, adapting, and continuing. You have a choice. 10. Reinforce your environment. Your surroundings shape your habits. Your people influence your identity. Your environment votes on your future every day. Surround yourself with winners. Surround yourself with discipline. Surround yourself with relentless energy. Remove distractions. Remove comfort that masks mediocrity. Remove excuses waiting to whisper in your ear. Relentless today. Victory tomorrow. 11. Victory is invisible at first. When you start, no one notices. No one applauds. No one validates. That's fine. It's supposed to be. Victory begins quietly. It begins in discipline. It begins in repetition. It begins in action when no one is watching. Trust the process. Trust the habit. Trust the identity you are building. You have a choice. 12. The daily battle. Every day is a choice. Every day is a battle. Every day is an opportunity to reinforce victory. Do the work you've been avoiding. Take the step you fear. Repeat the action you wish you could skip. Relentless today. Victory tomorrow. 13. Your assignment. Identify one habit that builds success. Do it daily. No negotiation. No excuses. Identify one action that strengthens your identity. Repeat it every day. No backup plan. No excuse plan. Build momentum silently. Build momentum consistently. Build momentum relentlessly. Victory is inevitable when habits are aligned, when discipline is practiced, when action is repeated without hesitation. You have a choice. 14. Closing reinforcement. Victory is a habit, not a result, not an outcome, not a moment. Relentless today. Unstoppable tomorrow. You've built the habit. You've committed to action. You've chosen discipline over excuses. Now take it everywhere. Every challenge. Every opportunity. Every corner of your life. Victory follows action. Victory follows repetition. Victory follows identity. You have a choice. Relentless today. Victorious tomorrow. You've mastered the habit of victory. Now it's time to cement it in every part of your life. No excuses. No negotiation. No retreat. Relentless today. Victorious forever. You've heard the truth now. Not the comfortable truth. The real one. Your life doesn't change because you understand more. It changes because you do more. No excuses. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when it feels easier. Every day you delay is a vote for the life you said you didn't want. Every action you take is proof that excuses no longer control you. You don't need to feel confident. You don't need permission. You don't need motivation. You need to move. Today. Relentlessly. Turn this audiobook off and do the one thing you've been avoiding. No excuses. No shortcuts. Just action. This is your challenge. This is your line in the sand. And this is where excuses end.